One thing you guys have really liked about this channel as compared to a few others talking about relocating into Pensacola is the fact that we actually did it 2 years ago, and we did about a year ago discussing the same thing where are we going to be staying in the Pensacola metro area or are we planning on going back to where we originally came from? For those of you who have never watched our channel before, we moved here from Denver, guys, and it was 2 years ago, so to put it in technical terms, it was June 29th of 2023, and we came over for a lot of different reasons. A few of those we are definitely going to be getting into, and we had actually been trying to discover this move into Florida since 2021, when all the COVID hysteria was happening, the lockdowns. That was the first thing that gave us the itch to move into Florida, because we vacationed to it and we're like, man, it's open here, people aren't masking outside, all the stuff that we were actually looking for, and so that's what initially started our search into Florida. And then we chose the Pensacola metro area by accident. We do investment properties, we do short-term rentals. We're looking up in Nashville and then just so happened to go straight down the map and we're like, hey, what's this Pensacola place all about? Started looking into it a little bit more and then ultimately ended up choosing Gulf Breeze, which is actually just a little bit on the outside in the Pensacola greater area. And I actually recorded this video right before we left. We just took a trip back to Colorado for the 4th of July for Independence Day for a couple days, and it was great to be able to compare apples to apples on what we came from and then also what we currently live in. It was just like super mind-blowing. It really brought it in perspective why we moved, but ultimately what you want to know is, are we going to stay in or are we planning on moving back based on what we've experienced in the Pensacola metro area? And I'm going to be covering three main things in this video. So pretty much I'm going to be talking about the main things that we had to get used to relocating into the Pensacola metro. We are also going to highlight the awesome things about the Emerald Coast or the Pensacola metro area. I'm going to bring in those things that we wish the Pensacola metro did have as compared to what we came from. And at the end, I'm going to let you know whether we do plan on staying here or moving back. So first, let's kind of go over the main things that we had to get used to. And you might hear my kids from time to time. It's summertime, guys, and so they're out swimming by the pool doing the whole Florida thing, and so you might hear them giggling and talking, or hopefully not yelling. But the main things that we had to get used to, though, relocating into the area, I mean, the number one being is just a slow pace of living. I know you thought I was going to say humidity or hurricanes or all those things everyone talks about, but it was a much slower pace of living as compared to where we came from. Like I said, we came from the Denver metro area, highly populated, lots of traffic, just super fast pace. Actually, when we went back, it felt a lot more stressful being in that environment where everyone's just like, go, go, go. No one really slowed down to smell the roses. And that's something that we initially had to get used to. I think just our anxiety was constantly on level high because that's what we were used to. That's what we came from and what we have always experienced growing up in Denver, Colorado. And I could tell you right now that we are much more accustomed to the slow pace of living, and it is fantastic. We spend so much more time hanging out with our kids, hanging out with our family, just to enjoy the beach, all this stuff where it seemed like we were constantly like time slots, right? It's like, all right, from this time to this time, we're gonna do this. From this time to this time. Now it's just a little bit more fluid, and we just get to enjoy ourselves so much more, and then also enjoy those awesome relationships we have been able to build with the slower pace of living. Another thing that we had to get used to relocating the area is lack of amenities. Now, Pensacola Metro does have some awesome amenities. It just wasn't to the extent that we were used to. Guys, I literally, where we lived at in Denver, I was 5 minutes to Topgolf, 5 minutes to Costco, 5 minutes to 2 different malls. I had all these things at my fingertips that we could constantly take advantage of. Not so much the case here, where, you know, we have just like one mall in the area, no Topgolf, no Costco yet. We are getting a Costco, but it's one of those things where I think it's all of those first world problems, right? Where you're used to having all these things right here, accessible no matter what, within 10 minutes. And then not having that, it took a little bit to kind of get over, like, oh, I can't just actually go down the street and do this and that I used to do back where I came from. But again, you start to kind of become a lot more present. You start to become a lot more thankful, a lot more grateful of the things that you do have within the area. Another thing that we had to get used to is the housing in the Pensacola metro area. There are some portions of Pensacola that do have newer developments and such, but we were used to pretty much the entire area being new, where all the houses were pretty much new. A different also type of housing where we're used to, where the majority of your houses were 2 stories with basements. The majority of houses here are ranch styles, no basement. And so if you want a 2-story here, It is a little bit more complicated to find, not to say that you cannot find it, but we had to get used to that a little bit, just the housing styles, and then also not the newness of it, right? We had to move into a property that we ultimately had to reconfigure how we wanted it to look, because it seemed like a lot of the inside of the properties are a little bit more outdated here. That's not to say that you can't find something that is not updated, but we just noticed that you aren't getting as much updated homes as you would, say, maybe where you're coming from in a newer suburbia or larger town area. Now I'm going to break into those things that you could obviously Google all the freaking time when we're talking about Florida. The humidity. It's something we had to get used to. We came from a super dry state where we're used to doing the chapstick and the lotion all the freaking time. So we had to get used to the fact that we're going to have a lot more humidity here as compared to where we came from. I will tell you though that you do eventually adapt. We have family and friends that do come here from Colorado and like, holy crap, it's so humid here.
I'm baking like a toasted cheese here. It's so hot here.
Or like, I mean, really, it doesn't really affect me that much anymore. So it's one of those things that people are always talking about, oh, why would you move to Florida? It's so freaking humid. Yes, you do eventually adapt. I'd say it took, potentially like a solid good summer here for us to finally adapt to it. And now we've gotten to the point where it really doesn't affect us that much. And on top of that, one of the things that you can Google is the lizards, the snakes, the bugs, all that stuff that people always talk about. Oh, the bugs are so crazy in Florida, guys. Where we're at in the Pensacola Metro, I really haven't noticed that large of a difference. Outside of the fact, it seems like we have less spiders. It might be because we have all those lizards who are feeding on them. And the cockroaches aren't that big a deal. As long as you keep up on it, as long as you have some type of a pest control. I have pretty much traps everywhere. We see those big cockroaches that they talk about all the time, maybe 4 or 5 times a year in our house for the entire year, and it really isn't that big of a deal. Majority of the times you see them outside. Maybe a couple times they might get inside, but yeah, it's just one of those things that you just got to keep up on. But definitely not something that's going to drive us away or make us pretty much talk about how Florida has crazy bugs or snakes or lizards or any of those things. All right, now we're going to branch over to the next topic, which is going to be the highlights of living in the Pensacola metro area or the Emerald Coast, because that's where the majority of those highlights are. And obviously it's going to be those beaches and that emerald green water that we do have here. Guys, I am not lying. I am not trying to get you to come here just to kind of boast this up. These are by far the best beaches I have ever been to in Florida. We own a property down right outside of Clearwater. We've been to all those beaches going all the way down to Fort Myers. We've been on the opposite side, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood. None of those beaches can even compare to the amazing sand and water that we do have within the Emerald Coast. And it is fantastic. We take advantage of it all the time. My kids are now popping up on surfboards, and I always talk about people who are like, so what's it like to like live in that beach lifestyle? I was like, well, majority of the time our hardest decision is, are we going to boogie board, surf, or skimboard for the day? That sense of community is another highlight. Again, this is probably, I mean, there is definitely a sense of community when we're talking about kind of the Pensacola City area, those neighborhoods surrounding, but we are in the Gulf Breeze area, and I'd say Gulf Breeze, Navarre, all these areas are huge about community. Whether we're talking about youth athletics, whether we're talking about going to do golf cart parades, the sense of community that we have felt here has been amazing. It has allowed us to be able to make friends really freaking fast. It has allowed our kids to make friends super fast, and so that's something that we felt like we were definitely missing out on. It seemed like the only community that we really got where we came from came mostly from the neighborhood that we lived within. Where here, it's not uncommon for you to go to the grocery store and see other people that are living in a different city within the area, and you're like, hey, how's it going? You stop for a little bit and you talk. People aren't constantly like rush, just trying to get the heck out of the store. And so that's awesome. That sense of community is that we ultimately turned out loving, and it's a huge highlight into the area. The schools, the main thing I'm going to be talking about is niche.com when we're talking about the area. Now, we personally lived or moved into the Santa Rosa County area where, I mean, we have A schools, guys. And they always talk about how Gulf Breeze is like the cream of the crop, but you're still going to get great schools even if we're talking about going over into Navarre, even if we're talking about going up into Pace. There are fantastic schools within Santa Rosa County, and that is a huge highlight into the area that we decided to call our home. Another highlight is the humidity, and you're like, Pete, what the heck are you talking about? You're just talking about how the humidity is so much higher and all this, and if you're not used to it, it might feel a little miserable. Guys, like I said, we just took a week trip in Colorado, and we were craving the humidity. We're like, give us some humidity, because back in Colorado, we were constantly having to put in that lotion, that chapstick.
There, look, I'm putting the lotion on the skin. I'm rubbing it in.
And then also in Colorado, the sun is more intense. The UV there is more intense. And so we were having to put on, well, me personally, usually when I'm in Florida, I just do like a little bit of sunscreen on my face. But outside of that, I really don't have to put anything on. And up in Colorado, we were consistently having to put it on, and we were just wishing and hoping for that humidity to get back down into Florida. The last highlight that I am going to go over is the traditional kids play. You can hear my kids out jumping in the pool right now. Pretty freaking awesome. But it feels like, and I think the reason that I can relate this is my childhood when I grew up in the 90s. Got a kid choking over there. And that's what it feels like. Kids are getting out, knocking on doors, going and playing, riding bikes, riding scooters. Yes, you do see the mix of the newer electric bikes and scooters. Okay, he's all right. and it's so awesome that they are able to kind of bring that old school mindset, that old traditional living for kids within the area. We have talked to friends who kind of live in Chicago, even Denver, and how they like kind of do everything based off of some social media app. It just blows my mind where kids can just be kids here. You know, we just start sounding like he has one of those little watches. He could go play at the park. He could do all the great things. And it's just awesome that they are able to run and be free until, like, you know, the lights turn on and it's like, all right, you got to get home. And it's just something that we're used to and we want our kids to have. And that is something that you will find within the Emerald Coast. All right, now to get on to what we wish the area had. This is something that we actually talk to you guys a lot about when you are calling us, when you are planning on relocating into the area, is we wish the area had more semi-custom home builders. It seems like majority of the builders here, it's just kind of copy paste. And that's not to say that semi-custom isn't like that. You just don't have as many modifications, as many options. It's more of the Navarre style, right? Where it's like, I picked option 1, option 2, option 3, and this is kind of what the whole entire thing is going to look like. We do wish there were some more semi-custom builders in the area. You guys are constantly talking to us about this as well too. And guys, real quick, if you are planning on relocating into the area, I am your top relocation realtor in the area. I focus 100% on you. I don't help a single local within the area. 100% of the people that I do help out in the area purchasing homes are relocating here from somewhere else. So if you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the Emerald Coast, Pensacola metro area, give me a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below there, I always answer, doesn't matter date or time. But if you're not quite ready to purchase, just want to educate yourself a little bit more on the area, make sure you smash that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, notification bell. That way you're notified every single time we put out a brand new video. These other things that I wish they had, like I said, is kind of really just first world problems. So like Costco, I already kind of went over that. We're hoping there's a Costco. I think Escambia County hopefully will approve the plans here soon so that we will get that Costco up on 9 Mile. Professional sports, I don't honestly think this is something that would help me out much because I'm such a diehard Broncos fan that even if there was professional sports, I don't know if I'd actually take advantage of it because, like, if I wanted to go watch a Saints game, it's only like a couple hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. Just not too bad away. But, you know, it would be nice to have some type of professional sports. Now, they do have a few minor leagues in here, minor league hockey, minor league baseball, but it's just that vibe to be able to kind of go tailgating with professional sports. Be kind of cool to visit from time to time, kind of in the area. An outdoor shopping village. What is this? So it's essentially just like an outdoor mall, right? And so the only mall here, it's definitely a little bit outdated. It's cool, you know, it still gets crazy busy and all that stuff, but I was always used to just those outdoor shopping areas. And you might be thinking, Florida's too hot for that. We can't really do that. I mean, we've been to areas within Florida, like if you go down to Panama City, they definitely have an outdoor shopping village type area there. And we just really don't have that here. There are talks about Navarre potentially putting one in. It has not gotten approved. It's actually got shot down a few times. But I kind of wish that we had something like that in the area just to be able to go out and stroll around, do your shopping, need be. It's just something that would be nice to have in the area. And the last thing that I wish that they had here, and this is strictly just me and my family, is green chili. We are used to green chili. That was amazing. Going back to Colorado, we got to actually have a smothered green chili burrito, and there's no green chili here whatsoever. In fact, like majority of the breakfast burritos, I can't even do it because it's so dry. I'm so used to just being smothered in green chili, and that's something that it's just like one of those personal things for me. So maybe if we're moving here from Denver, you'll experience the same things, but outside of that, majority of you probably won't really care about that. Alright, so after going over everything and then after we had our trip, this being our 2-year anniversary since we did move here, are we planning on leaving? And it is going to be a hell no. We are not leaving whatsoever. Like I said, when we're in Colorado, it's always great seeing family, but we want to get back here. And so I want to kind of go over the reasons why we aren't leaving or why we are staying or why we even moved here. And the number one reason, guys, I'll just tell you right now, it's our kids. You know, it's like we have our entire family back in Denver and it was hard pulling our family away from them. But at the same time, there's a lot of things happening in Colorado, whether we're talking about the schools, whether we're talking about just kind of the upbringing of what they're going to see in Walmarts and the grocery stores and stuff. We didn't want our kids seeing any of that stuff, and that is why we chose this area where it's a lot more traditional, a lot more Judeo-Christian values to build them a solid base so that when they become adults, they could deal with all the craziness that's going on in these larger cities. That was our number one reason, and they were our number one, so we felt it was worth it moving away from family to make sure they had a solid upbringing in the Pensacola metro area. Another reason why we are not leaving is we are addicted to that salt life, guys. Addicted to going out on boats, going onto the beach, going surfing, going into the water, all those things. We do it on consistently, especially now in the summertime. We hit the beach at least 3 or 4 times a week. We go surfing all the time. We're getting ready to buy some jet skis. We have friends with boats. It's like all this life that we weren't able to do. There's a huge difference, guys, between going fishing or boating out in the ocean as compared to going in a lake. It is just amazing, and we love it so much, and we have become addicted to it, and nothing that we are wanting to leave. I kind of threw this one in. I've already mentioned it twice. The humidity. We have gotten used to the humidity, and we have learned to love the humidity, even though right now I think I'm probably sweating like crazy out here. But we just love the humidity, and even if it's something you're not quite used to, just know that eventually you will get used to it and become something that you do love, especially if you're coming from somewhere that's a lot more dry and you're having to worry about constantly putting on all the lotions and stuff. Another reason we are not leaving is allergies, and this is actually a reason that we forgot about moving from Colorado. As soon as we dropped back down into Colorado a week ago, Chelsea's allergies hit her. She's allergic to like pretty much grasses and ragweeds and stuff, and it was just horrible. She could like barely even have a great time there because she was consistently having to deal with her allergies. We're down here where we're at in the Panhandle. She has 0 allergies, and it has been fantastic for her. So maybe if that's something that you're experiencing in one of these kind of like Midwest states in regards to allergies, that might go away immediately as soon as you come down here. And finally, why we are not leaving, I truly believe that Ron DeSantis is the best governor in the United States. And you might say, Pete, what are you talking about? He's term limited, you know, 2026 is gonna be his last year in. It's more about the things that he did to the state. And then I believe that like the future for Florida, whether it's going to be Byron Donalds or even Casey DeSantis, I see amazingness no matter what happens. And so no matter who gets in, that could potentially be another 8 years of an awesome governor within the state of Florida. And it's something that I look forward to for the future to come. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the Emerald Coast, Pensacola metro area, like I said, I focus 100% of those of you relocating to the area. I don't help anyone else out, any of the locals in the area. Give me a call or text at that phone number right below. Right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you follow along by smashing that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, notification bell, that way you're notified every single time I put out a brand new video. Alright, I might have to go swim with my kids right now because that sounds pretty awesome. Until next time, we love ya.